Oh, thank God. Hi, everybody. Let me sit on that one. Showing you yours? Okay.
What about this? I'm sorry. You were talking about.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Could you just change that one?
Oh, I agree, especially during the executive session.
Public comment, she's aware of
Hello and welcome to Tuesday, February 17th, 7 p.m. We had an executive session prior to this meeting. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, roll call. Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Sean Ratty.
Here.
Scott Robinson.
Here.
Peggy Walsh.
Here.
Mayor Garrett Hall.
Present.
We have some agenda changes. On 8A, it's not the Environmental Development Corp., it's the Economic Development Corp. That was just a quick overlook. We're going to add an agenda item. Do you want to talk about what we discussed?
Yeah. We have an item to add the agenda regarding an MOU and memorandum of understanding regarding the police contract negotiations. It's for a 3-year extension. This was completed yesterday, last night, and the borough's Labor Council sent over the MOU to us this morning. So we will need a motion to add the memorandum of understanding between Morrisville Borough and the Borough of Morrisville Police Association for a 3-year extension of the collective bargaining agreement. So we'll need a motion to add that.
Yeah, do you want me to read the motion? So the motion is going to be to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Borough of Morrisville and the Borough of Morrisville Police Association to adopt the 3-year contract extension in the form presented. And I know you guys didn't get the form, but the council got the form. So that will be 10J. And I'll read that again at 10J.
And we'll just need someone to make a motion to amend the agenda to add that. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a
Second.
That's Marie and Scott. So we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to add passes 8-0.
Madam President, can I make just one quick remark? I had a resident from the last meeting comment that when we added things to the agenda, I know there's the whole process for how we add things correctly, but they pointed out to me that the online agenda for last meeting was not updated within the 24-hour period to not be in violation. I'm not sure what the correct process is to correct that, but since I know this motion is being added, I wanted to make sure that we address and make sure that it gets updated properly. I just don't want our vote on this police matter to run into some sort of violation. There's apparently that one objection a resident brought up to me is they're supposed to be updated within 24 hours.
No.
Online.
No, I know what he's saying.
Yeah.
We'll make sure this gets done.
Okay, I just want to make sure so we don't have that issue.
Okay, I think that was it. If I think of anything else that we needed to add, I will bring it to everyone's attention. Okay, so now let's go backwards. We have some community announcements. Jacob from Gilmore and Associates touched on this at the last meeting. The borough received a grant in the amount of $182,686 through the DCED through the DCED Multimodal Transportation Fund, MTF, for the North Pennsylvania Avenue and Trenton Avenue Traffic Signal Modernization Project. And the borough also received a grant in the amount of $813,472 through the DCED Multimodal Transportation Fund for the South Pennsylvania Avenue Traffic Calming Improvement Project. So that's nearly $1 million or over $1 million. I didn't do math, in grants that we received. I know that some people were complaining about, oh, thank you. I know that's a fantastic thing for the borough. So some people were complaining that Mr. Dillon had only budgeted $500,000 and for grants, and that was not sure money, but as you can see, he's already surpassed what he put in the budget. So congrats, Mr. Dillon. Oh, he says, congratulations, Morrisville. So just so everyone also knows, and Jacob, you can touch on this, the $813,000, we're going to start working on the traffic calming initiatives for South Pennsylvania Avenue, correct? Okay, fantastic. One other thing that we have, the Summer Seat Board sent us something, and so then we're all going to read it. It's a proclamation of the Morrisville, Pennsylvania, commemorating our nation's semi-quincentennial.
Whereas within the limits of the borough of Morrisville lies the actual site of Colvin's Ferry, otherwise known as the Lower Ferry, and the historic mansion of Summerseat.
And whereas General George Washington rested here after the harrowing flight with the Continental Army from December 8th to the 14th, and thereby formulated his plan of the Battle of Trenton in 1776, which resulted in the turning of events which led to the founding of our great nation.
And whereas 2026 is the 250th anniversary of this historic event,
we do now declare our borough to be a most historic location, pivotal to our nation, and we dedicate this calendar year to this 250th anniversary celebration.
And do affirm this 250th year as the actual anniversary in which George Washington came to Morrisville.
We therefore enjoin with observances of this year-long event in Morrisville Borough.
And do support the national, state, and county directives and mission of the American 250 organizations, which are created by federal law in 2016 and reaffirmed as recently as 2026.
And hereby encourage every citizen, every organization, and every entity within Morrisville Borough to observe the semi-quincentennial of the founding of our nation and to make this year a memorable and celebratory year.
So say we, the Council and Mayor of Morrisville, Pennsylvania, February 17th, 2026.
Thank you. Last month, everyone asked for public comment to be moved to the top of the agenda. So any public comment on agenda items, please step forward. So far, we have Jane Berger.
I thought at first it might have been sheet 2.
Nope.
Jane Berger, West Maple Avenue, Morrisville, Pennsylvania. I would like to speak regarding item 10C and support the borough authorizing your solicitor to intervene on behalf of the borough, the zoning board appeal that had been filed for the property at 70 East Cleveland Avenue. The zoning board is governed by the Pennsylvania Municipal, sorry, wrong board, the Municipal Planning Code of Pennsylvania. And in order to grant a variance, the board can only consider 5 factors to qualify or make someone eligible for that. One, there's something about the property, whether it's got crazy dimensions or it's got something like large stones or something that makes it a piece of land not usable for anything. And the third one is that the use has to conform. You wouldn't put a high-rise in the middle of a neighborhood, like that. The fourth one is the applicant cannot create their own hardship. And the fifth and the most important one is there in fact a hardship? And I opposed for that because, well, it might seem like a good idea to do something, but what's the hardship? And one of the things the zoning board cannot consider is economic gain. If you're going to subdivide something in a house because you're going to make more money from an apartment, well, that's good for you, but that doesn't meet the requirements under the law. And our zoning board worked very hard to follow these 5 parameters. And then if you meet one of them, don't have to make all 5, then they would consider any other issues in the variance. But that is the first test. And I would support having the solicitor go because the applicant certainly can file an appeal, that's their right. But if the really thing is just economic gain to add something there that creates income, that really doesn't meet the requirements of a zoning variance. So I look for your support to send the solicitor to the appeal of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane.
And I did it under 3 minutes.
Fantastic. Anyone else have any comments on the agenda? Okay. Engineer report, Jacob.
Okay, hello, everyone. I'll start preface here. I have quite a long report to give tonight, so feel free to stop me anywhere time through. I'm going to pause after each item that I discussed, but I'll start first by going through what you have on your agenda for your consideration. So the first item up is the items under your consent agenda, which are some resolutions for some grant opportunities that we applied for, that the borough applied for. This is through the Bucks County Community Development Block Grant. It's through the county. So the borough submitted 3 applications on they were due February 6th. 2 of the applications were recycled from last year's projects that were not awarded, and then 1 was a new one. So the 3 projects were for the library renovations. This was a new project, and those renovations proposed are for interior and exterior painting and for floor replacement, and that grant was submitted for requesting $148,265 for that work. The 2 then recycled applications from last year were for curb ramp project, which included 64 curb ramps along Hamilton Boulevard, Glenside Avenue, Osborne Avenue, and Prospect Avenue, and that was a request for $500,000 to design and upgrade those intersections. And then the last grant through that program was for the West Palmer Stormwater Improvement Project. This is to address the stormwater concerns that have been there throughout the years between Grandview and the middle high school driveway entrance. That area of road gets a lot of groundwater issues, so it was repaved as part of it, and it seems to be holding up all right, but we still know there's some underlying issues under this. We resubmitted a grant application for that for $403,390. These applications will be reviewed by the county and typically are awarded in late May, early June. So look forward to announcing something hopefully in the future for those.
Jacob, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure about these grants yet. Are these matching grants or?
No, so the Community Development Block Grant does not require a match from the borough, other than it doesn't cover engineering, so that would be a match out-of-pocket expense for the borough on those. But the whole construction cost would be covered under them. We've had a number of them throughout Morrisville. There have been other curb ramp projects in the past. The most recent one that we've been awarded is for that Manor Park Senior Center parking lot, and also the Manor Park Playground was through that same program. So we've had dealt with these in the past. So if there's no other questions on that, I'll move on to.
So we've successfully won this type of grant before, just for other projects?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, last year's we got most of the money for that parking lot project, which is why we didn't get the other two that we submitted for. So this year, we're hopeful that with some lower dollar values, we can potentially get more grants out of them.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. All right, so then moving on, so some of the bigger items in your agenda then, your action items. The first one being the Morrisville lot pavement and drainage improvements, and this was previously considered the Manor Park Senior Center parking lot improvements. So this project is in your agenda tonight for consideration of award. So we put the project out to bid with a base bid, which was included pavement remediation and drainage improvements across the parking lot and the senior center. There's a small little loading area behind the senior center there that included that. And then there was an alternate bid one, which included some additional sidewalk replacement adjacent to the senior center and that back loading area as well. They have some drainage issues back there. An alternate bid two item was to demolish and reconfigure that tunnel access down to the senior center basement level. So we borough received 14 bids for this project, which is a significant number of bids. There were a lot of interested contractors on this. And we had a meeting with borough and county officials, since this is a joint project with the county crossing their property. And at this time, through all that discussion, we decided the best award scenario was looking to be base bid, which was for the pavement work, the drainage improvements, and then alternate bid one, which was just the sidewalk improvements. The county was not interested in proceeding with reconfiguration of that tunnel and the access ramp into the senior center at this time. They're going to look at doing upgrades to that at another time. So again, with that in mind, the base bids, then the award scenario would be the base bid plus the alternate bid, and those bids range from $450,500 as the low bid to a higher bid of $826,350. Therefore, at this time on your for consideration is to award the project to G&B Construction for all items in the base bid plus alternate bid one for a total of $450,500. For reference, we have worked with G&B in the past on multiple projects. We've done curb ramp projects. We've done a similar parking lot project, not as much full depth replacement, but they've done brand new parking lot for us. So we have worked with them in the past, and they are a pretty reliable contractor. Other things to note is that this project, the construction was funding through grant money provided by Bucks County. There were 3 grant sources, and it totals around $704,000 total in grant awards. So with that, we are still going if it is awarded tonight, we are still going through the permitting process for the erosion and sediment control permit for that. And I anticipate then likely starting in the end of early April weather depending. We're trying to wait for some weather to stabilize here, you know, hopefully no more random snowstorms. And then it will approximately take, we're anticipating 1 to 2 months for completion, depending on what's identified under that paved surface, since we know that there is some a previous landfill history there. And again, any weather delays or anything like that arise, the contract does require completion by the end of August 2026. So this project will be complete by the end of the summer. Are there any questions on that project specific before I move on? Good? Okay. All right, the next project for your consideration tonight to award is for the 2026 road program. So this was a continuation of the project last year. Last year we considered phase 1, and that was in wards 1 and 2 of the borough. And this project would be in wards 3 and 4. And it covers approximately 6.39 miles of roads, 32 roads. In your agenda, we are recommending that the award be made to James D. Morrissey, Inc. for a total project cost of $1,181,412.32. They were the lowest of 7 other bidders, 8 total for the project. Some things to note for this: we had originally cost estimated the construction portion of this project to be $1,695,000 and some change. So we're about a $513,000 difference lower than what we had originally cost estimated, and that cost estimate was based on the contractor's pricing from last year, which was James D. Morrissey. So they came in lower on their unit cost this year than they did last year. We are a little bit shorter on roads, but by 0.3 miles, I think we are different of what we paved last year. So then at the completion of this project, after phase 2 would be complete, a total of 66 roads would be resurfaced within the borough. For reference, we had originally planned for 73 roads to be paved, with a total of about 80 roads in total within the borough that the borough owns. Some of those roads between 73 and 80 were previously paved within the past couple of years or had utilities cover the full width. So coming down to 73 roads out of that, 66 roads will be completed by the end of phase 2. So it's 90% of your roads paved in Morrisville. And as far as construction time frame for that, again, last year's project was about 1 month from the start to the end, and that started at the end of May and went through the beginning of July. I anticipate the similar 1 month construction period for this, and probably around the same time, start late May. Try to wait for maybe, I know there's not school buses and whatnot, but try not to disturb as much around schools since this is that ward up there. Is there any questions on the road program?
Is it possible that when we start this road construction to, at the beginning part of it at least, because with the school district, there are some neighboring roads I know kids come down. Is it possible to start at another end, or is it planned that we go straight through 3rd and the 4th? Like, is it possible to push those roads around the school to a little bit later date?
Yeah,
or?
we'll have time to discuss that with a pre-construction meeting,
Okay.
and I can bring that up during that time for scheduling.
Just until we get to the end of the school year.
I know
if it's possible.
Yeah, I know last year we worked up, I guess it's Ward 1, we worked up towards Bridge Street in that direction. So we'd probably follow similar. If not, it'd be go east to west or west to east in some capacity. So
Thank you.
We can accommodate that in the pre-construction meeting. Okay. All right, so then the next item on your agenda for consideration tonight is 10F, and that is for authorization for Gilmore Associates to evaluate a feasible trail within the borough. So Mr. Dillon received some requests that we review feasibility of constructing a trail within the borough, as there are a few grant opportunities for trails at this moment open. One of those being the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission Regional Trails Program, and then the Department of Community and Economic Development Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program. The Regional Trails Program through DVRPC is due March 27th. That allows for projects up to $400,000 with no match required. There is a very specific requirement of that, and that is that trails must advance a part of the Circuit Trails Network. And for example, a circuit trail is something like the Delaware Canal that runs for miles and connects a lot of communities together. Another one of those examples is East Coast Greenway Trail, which runs from Maine to Florida. And we're pretty critical part in that. There's a lot of missing pieces in Bucks County right now, and Morrisville is one of those. So that is a pretty strong requirement for that grant. And then the DCD grant, Greenways Trails and Recreation Program, that's due May 31st. That allows for projects up to $250,000 and does require a 15% match. So we'd be looking to, the borough created through a grant in 2018, 2019. They did a trail sidewalk study throughout the entire borough that identified some trail loops, sidewalk loops that are already existing, some areas that are missing sidewalk, missing trail connections. So we would use that as our first step to evaluate where trails are, and also trails that meet the grant requirements. So we're not applying for something that would never be awarded. So tonight I'm looking for just authorization for us to go ahead with that, so then we can provide to you in March trails, and hopefully to apply for a grant, being that one and due March 27th. Looking to get authorization for that in that month as well. So are there any questions?
You'll make recommendations on which trails we should have, because I know the packet had a lot of trails outlined.
Yeah, so I saw that item Mr. Dillon provided us. There are a lot of trails, but again, we'll try to pick the ones that, one, meet the grant requirements, so that way we're not, again, applying for something that won't get awarded, and also is best for the community that we would recommend.
Okay.
Because there are some trails that no longer apply, or they were taken off. They might not be feasible any longer since 2019, 2018, so we'll provide those recommendations.
I hope this doesn't sound like a dumb question. I don't know what was outlined, but if we're talking about trails, we have the dike from bridge to bridge. We have the canal path and maybe a little, trail action through Williamson Park or whatnot.
Yeah, so those were the Delaware Canal. The borough doesn't have any control over. That one's obviously controlled by DCNR, but trying to provide connections to it was a goal of that study, that 2018 study. Trying to expand on the levee trail was part of that study and improve it, make it paved, provide some lighting if necessary, more benching, stuff like that. And again, trying to connect it to other routes, again, like the Delaware Canal Trail or other internal, we called them loops in that study. So essentially it was looking at where would almost complete a mile loop for residents to get their exercise in, and where some of those loops had missing sidewalk, didn't have ADA compliance. So we'd be looking at reviewing those again to apply for now a grant, since they were outlined before.
Okay, so, all right, so I guess we can, I would never have thought calling a sidewalk a trail, but if we're going to call sidewalks trails, I mean, it's not like we're going to turn Morrisville into the Grand Canyon with trails.
No, and those sidewalks being a trail would connect you to a larger trail like the Delaware Canal. So it would get you from, say, any of your open space areas like Williamson Park, designated trail to the canal, which may be through sidewalks that already exist.
It's right across the street from the canal.
I know, but I'm just trying to use that as one example. All right, I know that there's already a connection to the levee trail to the Delaware Canal, but maybe connecting that to some other open space in the borough.
I just want to mention that this is really a great opportunity to encourage downtown economic development downtown, energizing our public spaces. It can ensure safe walking and biking throughout Morrisville. And by using the Williamson Park, our gem of Williamson Park, as a hub for this, you make connections. The idea is making connections and routes, not necessarily trails. So the idea is making your connections to.
Sorry, could the audience please? I'm sorry, the audience. We can't hear Peggy. Not Peggy. I'm sorry, Debbie. If you could.
But what you do is you use these trail connections and these route connections to connect to your the other cultural assets that you have in the borough, to the open spaces, to your downtown businesses, and then you connect all these trails and routes. And the idea is what you're doing is you're creating by drawing people into and through the park to these different connections. You create a vibrant community where, visitors can come and our residents can enjoy it. The reason why these grants are really great is because the No Match grant connects to circuit trails, and part of the circuit trails is the East Coast Greenway trails. So those are not only walking routes, they're also biking and driving routes. So we've got, in Morrisville, we've got a number of routes that go through. We've got like the Levee Trail, the Loop Trail. You've got the East Coast Greenway. The East Coast Greenway is being proposed to have extensions that actually go along Delmore, South Delmore, and North Delmore, North Delmore, and the Levee. We have the Delaware River Heritage Trail. There's a bicycle route already that goes through Morrisville. We've got the 9/11 Memorial Trail that comes through off of Calhoun Bridge, and that's a major trailhead area there. And there's also the Delaware. There was a Delaware and Lehigh Drive scenic driveway byway route, they called it, in Delmore, on Delmore Avenue. So the idea is that you can connect one of the big major circuit trail connections was actually the bike trail that goes over Bridge Street on the canal. So by connecting that, you can make connections with signage, wayfaring, placemaking. You can draw down through downtown so that we can bring traffic in to businesses downtown. You draw it to the park, through the canal up on the northern area. You can, from the bike route, you can make clear signage and pathways to Somerset. So the idea is to create these different nexus, using a hub, creating this area that would actually energize downtown. And these are proven strategies especially for river towns that have such a riverfront gem, that we could be combining all those assets that we have that not only we will like, people will like, businesses will like. So it's a good positive thing for everybody.
I have a question. Is this in front of people's personal properties? I know you touched on it, but I wasn't focused.
Yeah, I don't have any specific locations in mind at the moment, but if it is connecting, as Ms. Colgan said, there would be through some of the sidewalks that exist now. So there are sidewalks at front homes, but not on private property. It's in the right way.
You'd utilize public routes. And I would really love the opportunity to talk with you more about this as you start looking at it, if you...
Yeah, I'll share my research with Mr. Dillon and we can pass it along.
Are there going to be considerations for like exercise circuits too, things like that, like along the levee and things, or no? Is this just a trail?
This at this time is just trails. Those two grants are specific to pedestrian and biking.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, if you're going to continue this in the warmer weather, but I know you were doing your jogging with citizens part. So if you were continuing that, I feel like that could be a good optional route for that, because I really liked watching your involvement with that there, and it just seems like maybe an opportunity for you guys to have a nice place to go too.
Absolutely. And give us a little bit more other places to go and see around the borough. So, and that will be starting back up. So look out for that schedule. I'm going to do a schedule this year.
And Jacob,
I'm sorry. One other thing I meant to mention was the idea that if this will not allow trails through the park, we might be able to piggyback this No Match grant might be able to be piggybacked with some other grants so that you don't have to pay anything.
Yep.
my question is, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at these grants yet, but would they include, do you think, any kind of walking paths within the park itself? Because I know that's one of the things that residents prioritized in a meeting we had about 3 years ago, was to put walking trails into Williamson Park. So I don't know if these grants are appropriate for that, or if this is something that you've had a chance to look into yet.
Yeah, not fully yet, but based on what the DVRPC one is requiring, a specific connection to this circuit trail, we can, work our wording magic and see how we can make it work.
Okay.
But some of those internal trails might not be feasible through that grant, but it might be better through that DCD Greenways Trails project, which doesn't have as strict of requirements. That is just pave a trail, essentially.
Okay.
So we're going to provide that in our recommendation upon completion of this evaluation. So, all right. I will move on then to the next one, which is on your agenda is 10G, which is the payment application for the police Sallyport project. So all of the site work is complete, and that final payment recommendation on there is to R&S General Contractors. Again, they're done. They've completed all their punch list items, and they were only responsible for the actual site work itself. So the next thing that has to come in is HPT Systems was awarded the camera bid for that project. They have now received, I think everything came in the past 2 weeks. They have to now configure all the cameras, configure the new equipment, and then they'll be back and to install that. And I believe their install was around a week time frame. So that should hopefully be before your next council meeting be complete. The other piece that still needs to happen with that too is the door lock equipment, and that is through 215 Secure. They did all of the borough's other locks on the entire borough hall. And they were out here today to do a final site visit to take their final measurements, make sure they have everything together, and then they will give us an install date for that. I'm anticipating getting that from them here this week. So again, hopefully that will be completed before your next council meeting. And then as weather comes around in spring, we hope to have, I know Mr. Dillon, we've talked about having a ribbon cutting ceremony, grand opening ceremony, even though hopefully the police can use it before that ceremony happens.
Have the police used it yet?
Only to store cars during the storm.
Okay.
But we haven't used it otherwise because it doesn't have
The locks.
of the cameras yet.
But the garage goes up and down. Fantastic.
All right. So then the last two items on your action item agenda, 10H and 10I. 10H is for which Helen mentioned before, was the additional funding for that North Pennsylvania Avenue and Trenton Avenue traffic signal modernization project was received from DCD. And then Borough also has the PennDOT Multimodal Transportation Fund grant that has been there. And so Mr. Dillon in Virginia, and I believe Sue's been a part of that too, have been working to put out a solicitation for consultant services. So the PennDOT MTF grant requires that you solicit proposals for the engineering and consulting services on that, to design that project through that grant money. So Mr. Dillon and Virginia have been working on that. They've been coordinating with PennDOT. So tonight on your agenda is you need to adopt PennDOT's policy and procedure for consultant selection, and that is what 10H is. It essentially outlines all the requirements and the policies that must be met through this grant, the selection criteria, et cetera. So that is on there tonight for your consideration. And then 10I, which I know this is a big topic in the borough. It's the North Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge over the Delaware Canal at Union Street. So we are seeing some movement with that. I'll talk about the schedule here in a second, but the item on for your consideration is to adopt a resolution authorizing the borough manager or council president to execute a roadway lighting agreement and a sidewalk maintenance agreement. As part of the bridge replacement project, they will be installing a secondary street light on the corner of Burns because they will be adding pedestrian improvements down at that end. So they will be lighting that intersection, and so then the borough would assume responsibility for streetlights like they do for all other streetlights. So that's outlined in that agreement. And then the sidewalk maintenance agreement, even though the borough already maintains the sidewalk, they shovel that during the snow. This just formally outlines that responsibility.
We keep the light at east at Burns?
Keep it?
Yeah, afterwards?
Yeah, it'll be
As permanent?
Yes, it'll be a new permanent light. The existing one is now on the canal side of that intersection. There's one, I believe it's an overhead street. I think it's a Coperhead one. Not very fancy. It's just the industrial style looking one. I think it's on that corner where the house is. Closer to the bridge. Closer to the bridge. Thank you. So then there'll be a secondary light now at the Burns corner. They are also proposing.
Where was the first one? I'm sorry.
If you're on Union Street pulling on to North Pennsylvania, it's off to the right.
The house that used to be the bindery.
It's back down.
There's a light,
Yes.
a street light?
Yes.
Not a good one.
Not a good one. But there,
Oh, a street light. I'm sorry. I was thinking the traffic signal light.
no, not a traffic
Oh.
signal. No traffic.
Can we ask for a traffic signal light at at Burns?
I don't know that we, that add way more design time to this project, which we already know has been in a long design phase.
I mean, it could
One of the
help,
things- one of the
because
things-
that's a bad corner.
One of the things that they are adding at that intersection on the lower end at the Burns to cross North Pennsylvania is similar to what's out at Bridge Street, right across by Ashland, that new signal with the pedestrian rapid flashing beacon. They are proposing to put another one of those at that intersection, only crossing North Pennsylvania, not crossing Union, since that is a stop controlled. There will be a small refuge island, from what I saw on plans, on Union Street. They are still working through, again, the design to make sure everyone can turn left and right out of Union onto North Pennsylvania. But that's so far what we've seen. As far as the schedule, which I know this has been a big topic, the last we heard was that they were still planning to let the project go in April of this year, which would essentially put it out to bid, and they'd solicit bids until for so long. And then their proposed construction time was the end of the year, fall, winter 2026.
So the August date is not happening.
Although I will say, so Mr. Dillon just handed me a piece of paperwork this when I got here for the meeting. It is all of the utility companies submitting their permit to cross the Delaware Canal. So they are in motion of getting their permits obtained to relocate their utilities. That one that he handed me was from PECO. So every company has to move their utilities off the bridge, or if they're the aerial, move them for PennDOT to come in and build the bridge. So that's all in motion at the moment now. So all this stuff is good signs, the agreements and stuff, that they're moving along. I know John Lader's been pushing them too, so due to the state of the bridge and his maintenance that he's been providing. So we're continuing to push, and we'll see what we can keep doing, but hopefully provide an update sooner than later.
Yeah, it's PennDOT.
Yep.
Okay, now South Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, so the couple items I wanted to touch base on were outside of what's on your agenda. Was the South Pennsylvania Avenue traffic calming. So as Helen mentioned, the grant was awarded. We are still waiting for the grant documents to come through, and we've been told that could take 2 weeks to 2 months. So we are waiting for that to get that, and we can't start any work on that until the grant agreements are executed by both the borough and the state. Realistically, we've seen these agreements completed by the end of May, early June. So based on that, I'm going to give you a schedule here. If we get the notice to proceed from the grant in June 2026, this is, again, the traffic calming improvements from West Philadelphia Avenue, all the way to Post Road. It's a pretty big section of road. So my design time frame for that is 12 to 14 months. And again, that is because this is a PennDOT road, so we have to go through PennDOT permitting process. So there's a lot of time involved with the permitting itself and the plan preparation. As far as bidding would go, that'd be
Start now, Jacob.
see what we can do. But again, I pushed on the grant people the other day and asked them where it was, and that's the response I got, is anywhere from 2 weeks to, a couple months. So I'll keep pushing them, keep following up with them. But as far as survey design, that's 12, 14 months, bidding another 2 months. And then construction, because of some of the things we're proposing to improve that traffic signal at Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, South Pennsylvania, the lead time for signal poles and stuff is quite long. So we're anticipating around 6 to 8 months for construction. Again, this is for that full stretch of South Pennsylvania. So you'd be looking at a completion of the project around spring 2028. I know, not the quickest project, but it requires a
I'm going to be pushing you.
and we'll do
We're
our
talking
best.
spring of 2027.
We'll do our best to push it along as far as we can.
What are you gonna do?
Anything else, Jacob?
The 2 other projects I want to touch on quick was Patriots Park project. So this was to repave and expand that stone parking area that is owned by the borough off of Hillcrest, I believe is the street, right? I think that's Hillcrest.
Hillcrest and Legion.
Yeah, so we have the plans prepared for that. We are just now waiting for the Office of the Budget, who the grant is through, to review and approve all of our documentation so I can put it out to bid. Can't put it out to bid until they give me the okay. And also Mr. Dillon then provided the list of events that were happening at Summer Seat for America 250. I know those are going through May, June, and into July. So we did discuss, we can bid it throughout the spring here as soon as I get approval too, but not start any construction to not disturb any of those events until August. Plans start in August.
So can you follow up with Summer Seat to tell them to get the event, not the event list, but the application into us? Because I know they wanted to use Patriots Park and the council has to approve that. And we can't do that till they put in their application.
All right, one last one, and then I'll open it up for anything else. So I'm going back to the levy accreditation project. The borough has received a couple resident emails, questions about whether they are in what the floodplain looks like for their property, because FEMA's website is very tricky. They updated the map. The levy is now on the map, and the floodplain changed because of that. However, the first map that you see on the FEMA website is not the map that everyone needs to see to send to their insurance and talk to their insurance about lessening their insurance. So I continue to recommend that residents just continue to reach out to the borough, ask the question with their property address. Again, I provided information to Mr. Dillon. I provided the FEMA map that shows the revised floodplain. And then as far as along with that, we are still working on those two projects that were identified in the levy study. The first one being a backflow preventer within the pipes that discharge into that marshy area behind, it's off Bridge Street, the corner of Bridge Street and South Delmore. I don't know what that, Concerto, where that is, there's a marshy area that dumps into the river right there. There's two pipes that water can go back up in, so we're proposing to put backflow preventers in there. That one was a grant was awarded from PEMA for that project. And because PEMA it takes a long time to get through them too for grant agreements. By the time we went to go award the project to a contractor, the price had gone up. So I went back to PEMA. They are giving the borough more money. We're still waiting for that executed agreement too. But I want to put that out here shortly because prime time to do that work is in the summer when it should be dry and not as much rain and the river's hopefully lower for us to get in there. So that project will still happen this year. And then the other one is the bigger project, which is that Delaware Canal, relocating the wastegate that is just below Maple Avenue, relocating it up above Trenton Avenue to discharge outside of the levy limits. That project takes a lot more time. The borough does have funding again through that same PEMA hazard mitigation grant program. They have a full, I think it's 200-some-thousand for design of that project. We are in the design of that right now. We have completed a hydrologic and hydraulic study of the canal, and we have to do all this engineering for it to come up with the sizing for the wastegate, and then we're going to work on preparing the site plans and whatnot. The biggest part with that too is, again, we'll have to go through permitting and approvals with DCNR and all those good people to move their device upstream. So I anticipate a longer time for that. I had, what did I put in there? Trying to put it out to bid here late 2026 and start construction for that hopefully in 2027 sometime. Those were the big projects that I had to discuss. I know I gave an engineer's report with a bunch of other ones. If there's any other questions or any questions on those, I'm here to answer them, but it was a lot.
Doesn't look like there's any questions, Jacob.
Might have gave him too much information.
Never bad to have too much information.
Got a lot of things going on in Morrisville.
I know. In the next couple of years, it's going to be all different.
Yep.
The levy accreditation and the wastegate, will that change the FEMA map yet again?
Yes, those two projects would change. The backflow preventer doesn't change it much more. It would affect some of the low-lying areas in the park. And then the wastegate would help with some more of those residential homes on Delmore and on Park and Central Avenue.
Can we just have what Jacob said, can we just have what Jacob sent, like sitting on the counter or ready to go as an email so that you're not bothered?
In terms of,
The map for their insurance company.
let me talk to Jacob.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy to get the email and, focus on it. No problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jacob.
Yep.
All right. Solicitor report?
All right, good evening, all. In a moment here, well, not in a moment, but you'll see on here, we're going to talk about in community outreach. There's a position for a vacancy board chair. What the vacancy board is, it is not something that's been appointed in my time representing Morrisville, but what the vacancy board is, under both the borough code, meaning the Pennsylvania Borough Code, any of the township codes as well, they call for a position called the vacancy board chair. This is in case of a situation where someone cannot be appointed, meaning an elected official, council member, the mayor, your tax collector. You guys do not have auditors, so that does not apply. If there was a tie vote that could never be broken, the vacancy board chair would then cast the tie-breaking vote. So they would only cast a tie-breaking vote in the matter of elected officials, things like that. We did have that situation a few years ago with the mayor, where we sat here and did rounds and rounds, and there was no vacancy board chair, and then someone switched their vote. That's got it resolved. So this would help resolve that, so you're not stuck here. So that's something we're going to be soliciting interest for the next month, and then if anyone submits a letter of interest, multiple people, we'll consider nominations at your next meeting. Any questions?
Is this somebody on council or just anybody from the community?
Anyone from the community, yep.
This is just in case we ever run into that same scenario. I remember with the mayor thing, like that was just an ongoing loop, and I've seen that in other councils where if you have an even number and it's split.
Exactly, yeah. So in case most of the time, you guys are interested in that you have an 8-person council. So if there was ever someone not on council, you'd only have 7 people. That's a vote. Most other municipalities, townships specifically, have an odd number. So when they're missing someone, 3 goes to 2, 5 goes to 4. There's a much more likely situation where you have that number split.
Yeah, as I was out of training, I was actually surprised to find out that we are so unique for having an 8-person board to begin with. So, no, thank you. I appreciate. I was actually going to ask that tonight was what that was with reference to. So, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I have a question. So this is just only for vacancies of council, tax collector, or mayor, correct? That's it?
Correct. Just the elected officials, yes. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep it really brief. Just to add to the Sallyport update, I just wanted to say that George from R&S is the one who, I think he's the site manager or the project manager, right? He's the guy that I dealt with.
Yeah, he was informed.
Okay, so he and I spoke quite a few times because there was issues with the punch list, and he always made sure that we were satisfied. So I think everything looks great out there. We're just waiting on the final steps, but we're very happy with it, and we're excited to get that door going up and down and cars in it. In addition to that, I did submit the reimbursement request to the Central Booking Commission. So when I kind of talked about this whole project with the live scan, there's a fee that people who are fingerprinted, not juveniles and not for ID only, but anybody who's arrested and fingerprinted, there's a fee that they pay in their court costs that comes back to the jurisdiction that fingerprints them. So I submitted the request. We were actually allowed to submit for the purchase of the live scan. And again, it's percentage based, so I don't know how much we're going to receive for that. And also the annual fees that are required to maintain that live scan. So I'm anxious to see what that reimbursement is going to look like and how we can kind of project moving forward. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, I know that when I first got here back, I think in August of 24, this occurred. We had that tragic event at the Border Gentlemen's Club where a bystander was tragically shot and killed. Just last week, if anyone hasn't heard, that accused party took a plea and was sentenced to a minimum of 30 to 60 years in state prison. So he was convicted of third-degree murder. And I just wanted to acknowledge, obviously, our officers that were there that night. And it starts with the initial response, the collection of evidence, the statements, all of it. We had a great partnership and assistance from the Bucks County District Attorney's Office. It was District Attorney Jen Shorn, who has since been replaced with District Attorney Joe Kahn, who took this investigation over, and they saw it through to the end. So I think that's a great job. Justice is served. The family was very pleased with the outcome of the victim. And again, this is a testament to just great police work all around. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, I think everybody knows by now that about 10 days ago, we had an incident at the high school, and it resulted in a lockdown of the high school. It was a threat that was received by the school. They transferred it to us. Murphy's Law, it's just one of those, every time I either leave early or take the day off, we have an incident. So I was actually up in the Poconos, getting to the Poconos when this came in, and I was on the phone with Corporal Hallis throughout the incident. I communicated with the mayor, and I just wanted to say that these are one of those times where we're working through chaos, and there's no playbook to get us through because every situation is going to be different. But I think everybody handled it outstanding, and in the end, the incident was resolved. The threat was proved to be not credible, but nobody was hurt, and that's the most important thing. So I know there was a couple concerns with parents of children, the school. I met with one of our community parents last week with the mayor. We had a very productive meeting. Today I had a roundtable with both principals from Grandview and the middle high school, and I think that's going to be the start of building toward a plan. I presented an incident action plan to them that we can build from and have a better understanding of what our roles are when these things happen. I think this was kind of new to a lot of people at the school. It was certainly a first since I've been here, something we don't want to have to respond to often, but it was handled very professionally, very well. And I think in the end, again, the ultimate goal was the safety of, the staff and faculty in the community in that area. So it worked out great. So Corporal Hallis did an amazing job. I am very confident in, his supervision and leadership and ability in my absence, and he proved it last week. So I think it was a great job. That's all I have. That's all I have.
Okay. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I do understand in that shooting that there were parents that were drawn into for their safety as well, but there was no communication between the school and the parents that were pulled in for the lockdown?
You're talking, okay, the lockdown.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
the lockdown.
So no worries, they blend.
So is that normal, or should people have been told what's going on?
So that was one of the questions that was asked, when we met last week, and it was one of the things we discussed today. And I think part of building that incident action plan is going to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities for the school and the police. I can't really answer to the school's policy on making that notification. We make recommendations based on the intelligence that we have as to if they should do a lockdown or shelter in place. So where I was, those terms are interchangeable. They seem to have different meanings here. But when it comes to the community notification, and I think this is one of those things where it's going to be case by case and based on the intelligence we have, because obviously we don't want to put anything out prematurely. That's going to be inaccurate. And we also don't want to create a situation where we're going to have a mass influx to the school. So we're trying to work on ironing that out. Who makes that notification, when that notification is made, but also have in place areas of, staging for parents to come to, stage areas for reunification, for evacuation, and people who are going to be responsible for public information dissemination. So that was one of the things brought up. I don't have an answer because that's the school's policy, how they're going to notify parents. We put something out. Again, I was in contact with the mayor, and we were trying to put information out, very quickly after resolved. I think this incident lasted just under an hour, which is very quick for something like that. So we were able to get information out to the community via our Facebook rather quickly. But when it's rapidly evolving like these things do, on our end, we're not typically going to stop to put out information that something is going on. Most of the time, the schools have that ability to do that with their telephone notification system. I think they use Nixle or whatever, Everbridge it is now. But I don't have an answer on when they're going to put that information out or when they're going to notify the parents or,
Okay.
yeah.
One last question from me, and then I'll open it up to council. I just want to also clarify, because there's still some misconceptions. The budget, the police budget, you put that together, correct?
Of course.
Nothing was cut by the borough manager or council, correct?
Other than the issue with the police salaries, but that's based on what we have.
Right, based on the people and adding up numbers.
Right.
Okay, I just want to be clear, that budget is your budget, and we did not touch it.
Right.
Okay.
If I had an issue, I would ask for a meeting and, voice my concerns.
I understand. Thank you so much. Anyone on council have questions for the chief?
Yeah, well, comment and a little information for you as well. So thank you again for the follow-up for the with the shooting incident. I know it's one of the things that always drives me nuts is we always hear about these events that occur. It's a lot of information at the time, but then hearing follow-up is always a lot more difficult. It's not as newsworthy. So I appreciate finally hearing a result of the incident down at the Gentlemen's Club. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And I know the school really appreciates the effort and the work that the officers did. I know they've already been talking, circulating to us that, they like, it seems like they're receptive of a new action plan. And so I think we're going to see a good new procedure come out based a lot on your recommendations from what they've been communicating to us. For your own information, because I know shelter in place and lockdown is interchangeable, we do have defined differences. So just for your heads up for that one. Right. So the shelter in place is simply students staying in the classroom. Not going to the hallways. That's typically if something is rowdy going on in the halls, maybe a student's causing a little bit of a ruckus and stuff like that, and we just want students around that situation. Nothing dangerous whatsoever, versus the lockdown being the cases where everyone stays and remains in their classrooms behind the secure door, and nobody exiting or entering the building and stuff.
Right.
So just so that I didn't know if they communicated that.
I did learn that
properly
today, and
too.
I think there was even a little confusion at the school that day because I reviewed the body cam footage of this and I wanted to, before I had meetings with anybody, I wanted to see for myself, what occurred. And I know at one point the principal announced over, I believe, the radio to initiate a lockdown, and then over the loudspeaker, it was broadcast as a shelter in place. So I think there's definitely a little confusion. And I learned today that there are different protocols for the two. And that's the purpose of the meeting today. It's a starting point to build from and, again, have that better understanding. So if this incident should happen again, what the roles are. And it just increases and improves efficiency. And, when you do that, it increases the likelihood of a successful, outcome.
And appreciate that you're putting that effort out with the school and doing this communication. Like I said, from talking to people there, it seems very very receptive of a lot of ideas, and that a more effective plan being in action would just benefit everybody.
Sure. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Community outreach, there are 2 3-year appointments expiring January 2029 for the Economic Development Corp. We have letters of interest from Skip Woolston and Don Doretto. Can I have any nominations?
Can I have a question?
We're taking the nominations.
I nominate Don Doretto.
We have a Don Doretto.
Second.
There's no second. Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Skip Woolston.
We have Skip Woolston. Any other nominations? Okay, all in favor, or should we do roll call or no? All in favor for Don Doretto? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Don Doretto, welcome back to the Economic Development Corp. I understand he's been on for quite a number of years, so he can continue. All in favor for Skip Woolston? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Welcome Skip Woolston to the EDC. Aye.
Can I ask a question now about the appointments?
Sure.
Okay. With the EDC appointments, the question that I have is will the appointments that were made in December, will those dates be corrected? Do we need to do anything formally since the motion had them on a 4-year term? And it's actually
They are on a 4-year term. As was explained at the last meeting, the solicitor can speak to it again. We are correcting the terms. The EDC, the bylaws state that there should be a 3-year, and then they should turn over every 3 years. So 3 people are in year 1, 2 people in year 2, 2 people in year 3. We had it so that all 7 out of the 8 were in the same year, so we are correcting terms now.
So why wouldn't you just stagger the ones that you did in December? Because you did them early based on this.
Did not do them early.
Well, you did. You appointed in March. You appointed some people that were March. The other point I want to make is
there was
that, again,
there was no appointment early. Joe, the person that that you keep saying is March was really, he was notified and he was told that his appointment was really December.
Okay, rather than arguing it, but if you go back, the point is that right now, what is the resistance to putting appointments on the agenda the month before? If you look at the borough website, they're not accurate. They're not up to date. So I don't know how anybody would know that you were appointing tonight for the EDC because it's not accurate. All of the appointment dates have not been updated that I can see. So I just don't know, is there a reason why at this month we can't say to the public,
I will work,
coming up, and we'd like you, if you're interested, to please join us, to please submit a letter of interest. Is there any reason why that can't be done? Especially if there were going to be something that wouldn't be on that website would be if someone's resigning. So why?
So thank you, Debbie. Sue, could you make sure that the appointments on the website are correct?
And can we put it the month before?
We're going to move on to the consent agenda.
Also, could you at least announce that there's other boards that have vacancies and people can put in their letters of interest? The Environmental Advisory Council has 2 seats open.
If somebody wants to be on it, they can submit a letter tomorrow. And then when it opens up, then we'll have their letter.
Then how do they know that there are openings when the website's not accurate? So
well, the website, the new website was just launched, so there might be a little bit of a glitch. I'm not 100% sure that it's inaccurate. The last time I know the old website was accurate, so that will be fixed, and then people will be able to go and see.
Is there a good reason why you can't put this on the month before on the agenda to let people know? Why is that so difficult?
You have a lot to do.
A lot to do? You have to keep track of these appointments anyway.
Well, that's what Sue and Virginia do. That's their job. That's not our job. That's their job. Then when it comes time to appoint, they're going to gather up, if they have a letter from March, a letter from April, a letter from June, come December, if there's an opening, they're going to say, we have when they do the agenda, right? When they type it out, they're going to put on the agenda the people from the 3 letters that they got from March or April or June.
People put in December.
It's so simple.
And those letters were
okay. We're gonna move on here.
So
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent
My point
agenda.
is why is there
So the
resistance?
approval of council meeting minutes from 1/5/26 and 1/20/26. Approval of the bill list from 1/1 to 1/31/26 in the amount of $417,460. Approval of Morrisville Borough co-sponsored CAC Easter egg hunt, April 4th, 10:30 to 12 at Patriot Park, rain or shine, canceled if torrential, no cost to the borough. Approval of the Morrisville Little League Annual Opening Day Parade and ceremonies on Saturday, April 11th, rain date April 18th, 2026, starting at 10 a.m. And I think that will be starting at Summer Seat as well. Approval for the borough to participate in the Bucks County Health Department Annual West Nile Virus Program. Approval to adopt resolution authorizing the submission of a Community Development Block Grant CBGB application for the Morrisville Public Library renovations in the amount of $148,265. Approval to adopt the resolution authorizing the submission of a Community Development Block Grant CDBG application for construction of ADA PennDOT compliant curb ramps at various borough intersections in the amount of $500,000. Approval to adopt resolution authorizing the submission of a Community Development Block Grant CDBG application for construction of stormwater management improvements on West Palmer Avenue between Grandview Avenue and the Morrisville Morrisville Middle High School in the amount of $403,390. Scott, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Second.
Marie, would you second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
I have I thought, is there discussion?
Oh, the consent agenda, there is no discussion, correct, Scott?
If someone wants to pull something out, they can, but
I just have a question.
Okay.
The bill list. Mr. Dillon, I sent in some questions on the bill list. They weren't ready. Would I be able to get that information?
I can't hear you.
I said, I had questions on the bill list. I was told that I could ask Mr. Dillon before the meeting. I sent them in. It looks like the information, that email wasn't gotten until 3:30, and they said, I'll get some, we'll get the information. Can I be assured that I'll get that response is all I'm asking?
I just Dawn to get it to you, so, we have a little.
Can't hear him either.
Yes, it's just we'll get you the information
Okay.
as soon as possible.
That's all I want to know.
I think Dawn Sherlock's been directed to get it to you.
Well, that was at 3:30, so.
Okay, so just for all of council, if you have a question, the staff doesn't stop what they're doing in order to get you information. They try as much as they can to get everything to everyone, but 3:30 to now is not an.
No, I sent it yesterday. I did not get a response until 3:30. I understand. It's a very short period of time.
They were off yesterday.
I'm not saying I'm not complaining that I didn't get it. I'm just asking, can I get it? That's all I said.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Sean, would you make the motion for the first 10A?
Approval of Morrisville Business Association Car Show, MBA, with no cost to the borough residents, to be held Saturday, May 9th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., rain date from May 16th, and approval for portions of Washington Street on both sides of East Bridge Street closure from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Contingent on MBA working with police chief and the borough staff to coordinate street closure activities, and approval from PennDOT for East Bridge Street closure.
Anna, would you second?
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Marie, would you read the next motion?
B, approval of mutual agreement with Morrisville Mutual Authority.
Scott, would you second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have questions. Is this a retroactive agreement? It says effective January 2025.
It's for January, this is the agreement, this is an agreement we got from the MMA for 2025 and 2026.
This is going back a year.
Yes,
Okay.
This deals with the $450,000.
And does this, I didn't see where it
Sorry,
specifically.
please don't interrupt the borough manager. He wasn't done talking.
This
Oh, I'm sorry.
deals with the $450,000 contribution the MMA has been giving to the borough. Hopefully, it'll continue past 2026.
Okay, another question. I didn't see specifically the use of Borough Hall in there. Is that just kind of implied in the language?
Yes.
Okay. And then can you just tell me what giving priority to the authority means? There's a couple of I'm just not sure what that quite means in the agreement that the borough.
What line?
Page 2, 211 and 212, giving priority to the authority.
Can you read the full thing for me?
Giving priority to authority decisions regarding zoning, building, engineering, and permit requirements for work of the authority within borough limits involving authority infrastructure, and 2.1.2, giving priority and support to authority projects regarding zoning, building, engineering, and permit requirements for work of the authority within borough limits involving borough infrastructure. We're a little different. And I'm not sure what those.
So a couple years ago, if everyone in the audience has, 5 years ago, was following council, in order to receive funds from the Morrisville Municipal Authority, there was consent that they would get priority zoning information and all the other things that you just read. So it's kind of an exchange that for giving cash to the borough, we would give them priority on some of these items.
And what that just means is they're not getting special treatment with regard to what needs to be done, the ordinances, anything like that. It's just that when we get an application, we're going to process it to the speed.
Oh, okay, great.
It's
Thank you.
dealing with that. It's more dealing with the speed and the awareness of what's going on versus anything substantive.
Right, they still go through
Yeah,
permitting.
they still go through all the
processes.
same processes, yes.
Thank you for the clarity.
Mm-hmm. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Peggy, could you read the next motion?
C, approval of authorizing the borough solicitor to intervene on behalf of Morrisville Borough for the zoning hearing board appeal filed by Martin Blank for the property located at 70 East Cleveland Avenue.
Diane, would you second?
I second the motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 8-0. Diane, you want to read the next motion?
D, approval to award the Morrisville Lot Drainage and Pavement Improvement Project, AKA the Senior Center Manor Park Parking Lot Project, to G&B Construction Group for all items in the base bid plus alternate bid 1 for a total project cost of $450,500. The borough received grant funds through Bucks County to cover the construction costs associated with the project.
Marie, would you second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Sean, would you read the next one?
Sure. E, approval to award the 2026 Morrisville Borough Road Program to James D. Morrissey, Inc. for a total amount of $1,181,412.32 for all roads included in the base bid. This project will result in approximately 7 miles of roads to be resurfaced within wards 3 and 4 of the borough. A comprehensive list and a map of all roads being resurfaced will be available on the Morrisville Borough website.
Scott, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Anna, would you read the next one?
Approval to authorize Gilmore and Associates, Inc. to evaluate feasible trail locations within the borough and explore grant opportunities through the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, DVRPC, Regional Trails Program, Department of Community and Economic Development, Greenways, Trails and Recreation Program, or other funding source for design and construction of a trail.
Debbie, would you second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jacob, do we know what the cost of this would be? Approximately? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so if we're just looking at the feasibility, evaluating that and which grants to apply for, estimate probably up to $2,000, $2,500 for that. If we do get authorization to proceed with grants, depending on the level, which we'll evaluate as part of this feasibility, we'll look at the level of work that goes into each grant, and I can provide a proposal for that.
Okay. Okay, but the initial is just 2,500.
Yeah, up to, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Or any other discussions? I'm sorry, I don't know. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Marie, you want to read the next one?
G, approval for the application for payment number 3, final for the Borough Police Sallyport construction project in the amount of $22,503.28 to Armin S. General Contractors Incorporation as recommended by Borough Engineer.
Debbie, would you second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Sean, would you read the next one?
H, approval to adopt resolution for the PennDOT policy and procedure consultant selection per the requirements of the PennDOT multi-modal transportational funds for the North Pennsylvania Ave and Trenton Ave traffic signal modernization.
Diane, would you second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Debbie, would you read the next one?
Approval to adopt resolution authorizing the Borough Manager Council President to execute the necessary agreements with PennDOT associated with the North Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge replacement.
Diane, would you second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 8-0. And then J is the one that we added. It's approve the memorandum of understanding between the Borough of Morrisville and the Borough of Morrisville Police Association to adopt a 3-year contract extension in the form presented. Should I tell the public anything? No, okay. Because, I would have given you some highlights, but since it's just an MOU, until the documents are signed, I won't do that. But rest assured, when we approve the final one, the public will have access to the contract and we will recap it for you. So anyone have any discussion? Oh, I have to make a motion first. Marie, motion?
So moved.
Scott, second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. And also, just for the public, we didn't have time to put this on the agenda, but we are going to get a new police car for the police department. The old car is 2014, and I think it's got 88,000 miles. So next month, we'll be approving that if council so approves it. Okay, public comment on non-agenda items. Linda Meyer.
I'm going to be giving a report on the library, and I have a very detailed one I'll hand out, and I'm going to do the Cliff Notes version.
Why don't you hand it out afterwards? Do the cliff one. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to do, I am now on the board for the library. My name is Linda Meyer. I live on Hamilton Boulevard. I wanted to extend our thanks to the borough manager and the council for increasing the millage for the library in the 2026 budget and improving that. We also wanted to extend thank yous to the former board members, Bruce Stevens and Connie Beadle, for their service to the library. There is an upcoming fundraiser. It's a raffle that's being held at the library. It has a total of 19 local businesses that have contributed prizes in an amount over $500. And I'd like to just identify those businesses, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Congrats.
Anthony's 4 Pizza and Pasta, Ashland Distillery, Bella Sicily, Ben's Deli, Blank Space Community Center, Bread and Butter Specialty Sandwiches, Cunningham's Hardware, Fame Good Eats, Giant, Hay and Sons Car Care, Jack's Pizza and Pasta, La Villa, Lilac Consignment Shop, Nick's Pizza, Non Solo Pasta, Phantom Fireworks, ShopRite Fairless Hills, Yardley Beer, and Young Rembrandts. All have items in the raffle that is coming up. The other thing, we are coming up on the 60th anniversary of being in the current location in the church. And we're going to put together a celebration and a ramp up to that. So what we are planning to do includes creating a movable timeline to display and track the events that led up to the move to the building. We're going to be collecting and sharing library memories and stories from different patrons. We'll be celebrating the scouts who helped move all the books from the prior location in Somerset to the current location. And there will also be an open house to celebrate the opening of the library in its current location. And there may be other things as we come across additional information on the history. So we're going through the history to find things to add. The next thing I wanted to talk about is that there is a new service that went in online last week at the library. It's the Libby app, which is an online library source. It is available to members of the Morrisville Library through a consortium of independent libraries in Bucks County. You do have to have a library card from Morrisville as your home library or one of the other libraries in the consortium, because Libby is not available in the county libraries. So that went live last week on the 12th. And I wanted to bring to your attention a couple of the regular programs and things that are going on in the library. There is a seed share program that's hosted at Morrisville, and that's also hosted at the Southampton Library. It's an exchange program with free seeds for annuals, perennials, herbs, vegetables, and native plants. Free winter sowing kits were distributed, and there are a bunch of seeds that are going to be available, and that is a program that's very popular with people, and it is available to anyone in the community. There is also going to be a summer reading program, and at the annual book sale, we will be giving one book to each child who comes to kick off the summer reading program, so that they will be able to have that and keep it for their own. And additionally, since the last time I talked to you, there are 2 STEM programs that are going to be led by students that were added to the summer program. And the details and times will follow, but one will be on July 9th, the other will be on July 23rd. And just so you know, this coming Saturday, there is a puzzle swap at the library that's hosted by the Friends of the Library. You can bring in an adult puzzle and take home a different adult puzzle, or you can bring in a kid's puzzle and take home a different kid's puzzle.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
A lot of good stuff.
Sorry, Madam President. No, real quick, Linda, thank you so much for coming and doing that. This is the first time we've gotten that kind of information about the library, so thank you. I truly appreciate it. And thank you for what you're doing there.
Yeah, you can just give that to us if you want the Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Robert Dooley.
Oh.
Hi, Robert Dooley, resident. I know the chief didn't want to say my name, but I was the parent that came in and spoke with him and the mayor about the issues with the school incident. I'm not going to go into big detail with it here, but I had some major issues with what happened and how things were handled. The chief and the mayor put me quite a bit of ease from it. And then I actually had a meeting with the two principals this morning before the chief did. And they brought me even further down to being understanding of what happened. And there's definitely some deficiencies that need to be corrected. But in speaking with the principals, did tell them that the superintendent is supposed to be reaching out to parents and staff and everyone, all the stakeholders, to make that plan. So I've requested to be part of that. So I hope that I can work with the chief and the school to get that taken care of and make sure everyone's aware of where they should go in a situation like that, what's going to happen, how the school's going to handle it, how they're doing their information, sending that out, and getting everything out to the public in the time that they should. I know you mentioned that the parents weren't being told anything. Like the chief said, I don't think they should have been told all of the details right in that moment, because it would have caused even more havoc than what was out there. I was at both of the schools during it. At the high school, they told us as much as they needed to tell us to get safety. Over at the elementary school, the assistant principal was out there telling the parents that he would get the information to them as quickly as he could, but he wasn't really even part of the issue that was going on. He was getting information from the adult. So he was at the liberty of waiting for the police to relay it to the high school, and then the high school to relay it back over to him. And so the fact that the parents didn't know how long it was going to take and stuff like that, it was frustrating, absolutely, but it would have caused more of an issue if they were out there telling them what the threat was. It would have caused a lot more havoc out there. I'm sure that Mr. Ratty was dealing with it inside the school. Outside the school was 50 times worse. We were all worried, but they can't tell us everything, and that needs to be how it is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, may I just make a remark to him to help out?
This is public comment.
I know, I just wanted to say recommend for going to the school board.
This is public comment. We don't.
Okay.
I can't read it. Is it Z. Taylor? Oh, Lee. I'm sorry. Harry Lee Taylor.
Signature, not Lee. Someone said I should be a doctor because of my signature. First, I want to publicly thank Dan from the Morrisville Municipal Authority for his emergency call about a broken pipe at a house. His call saved us a lot of additional damage. He also alerted us to a high water usage at another property, which we were able to correct. Thank you, Dan, and the MMA. I would also like to take a few minutes to remember my good friend Gary Matthews, who passed away on January 22nd during a large snowstorm while shoveling snow. Gary had become a close personal friend during the last year and a half, meeting regularly with our Morrisville Landlord-Tenant Coalition, usually bringing Dunkin' Donuts. He was always cheerful, loved to laugh, and spoke highly of his wife. Our last conversation was when he called me the day after the last Borough Council meeting to tell me that he'd watched it online, live online. He had a number of comments, but especially wanted to compliment Sean Ratty on being well-prepared and well-spoken. He also disagreed with the solicitor's comments. The solicitor's comments came after my own, which when nobody's a chance to question or respond to them. He was incorrect that this doesn't apply to Morrisville and Warminster, and I might add Bristol. He stated, and I quote, "We're not in the same position that Pottstown was. Basically, they were improperly getting administrative search warrants and doing it. We do not do that. It's actually something we haven't done and won't be doing. It's the way in which Pottstown was reinforcing it and getting into homes. We're only doing ours with the permission, obviously." Publicly declaring that we are not getting administrative warrants and admits that Morrisville is already violating the 1967 Supreme Court ruling in Camera versus Municipal Court 387 U.S. 523, which stated that administrative warrants are required to enter homes for rental inspections unless the resident voluntarily welcomes the inspector into their home. Threatening tenants with $1,000 per day fines and/or dragging them into court if they refuse is not voluntary permission. At least Pottstown was following the federal law and the U.S. Constitution, which we are not. The Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court declared that the PA Constitution is stronger than the U.S. Constitution, and it now mandates in Pennsylvania that true probable cause warrants issued by a judge be required for entry into any tenant's residential home. This is clear, and a solicitor is wrong. He is leading us into legal battles which Morrisville does not want and cannot afford. Since Ordinance 1019, now item number 400 in Morrisville Code, is based solely on completing required inspections of tenants' private residences and explicitly states such in 400-2-H, and has been sold as such many times in these meetings, it should be immediately rescinded. I also requested 10 days prior to this meeting through the certified letters to Mr. Dillon, the council president, and our mayor, time to present how to strengthen our use and occupancy code to better serve our town. But that request was not granted nor even responded to. What are you afraid of, and why do you not want to hear suggestions by the very business professionals in town who are the best qualified to advise you on how to strengthen our U&O policies and make our town safer legally? Thank you.
Hi, guys. Holly Harmon, Plaza Boulevard. I have a concern about somebody wearing AirPods during a meeting on council. I understand that sometimes they're used for hearing enhancement, but I also do have a concern that if it's Bluetoothed to a phone during an executive session, that is a breach of the confidentiality of the executive session. And I hope you look into that.
Holly, I can attest that there were no Bluetooth earpods, iPods, whatever, used during an executive session today.
We don't, it's public comment.
Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you very much. Megan Little.
Hello. I am here today to address the Republican members of this council. Helen, hello. Diane Lanahan, Scott Robinson, unfortunately Marie Kelso, and Mayor Gary Wallace. You do not represent the Democratic Party. The only reason why you ran on the Democrats' ticket is because you knew you couldn't win on your own. Because no one in this town is going to want to vote for a Republican's agenda. Even my friend Mickey changed her party from independent to Democrat.
For political things.
The audacity that you have to sit up there and call yourselves Democrat is unbelievable. Helen, you supported and voted for Doug Mastriano, a known January 6th insurrectionist. Why? What are you talking about? I'm a citizen of Morrisville, and I have a right to speak to the councilman.
There's no political electioneering or
This
anything
is.
like that.
I'm a constituent, and I can comment. He came up and commented on what he wanted to comment on. And this is my party. This is my Democratic Party, and she voted for Doug Mastriano, a known January 6th insurrection.
Not relevant.
It is relevant.
We can talk outside. On the outside.
I gotta stay.
Not appropriate?
Not appropriate.
Okay.
Lady, calm down.
Thank you.
Seriously. What is wrong with you? And I saw you scanning Deborah's face. So what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? I saw you with my own eyes.
Okay. Do we want to adjourn or do we want to continue?
Let me just finish and explain what happened here. No, please stop.
Another exciting meeting.
All right. Public comment is not a public forum. It is public comment. It is a limited forum where you discuss issues as residents or taxpayers relating to council. It is not a time to bring up political statements, political slogans. You can criticize the people up here for their work, but to bring politics in it isn't allowed. That's not what public comment is for. You can disagree with policies. You can agree with policies, we can say things that we're happy about, but to talk about purely political things is not what public comment is for, and that's why she was not able to continue.
Should I? I'm not quite sure how she knows who I voted for, but that's a little creepy for me. So at any rate, Michael Torch. I'm sorry. You can understand my.
How y'all doing tonight? I came to address you all as a citizen of this town. I live on the 800 blocks of South Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're all aware of the traffic situation. We're all aware of the traffic situation down there. This gentleman here presented some stop measures. I'd like to talk to him after the meeting to find out what he has, intended for the town and the borough. I also heard that there was a possible vote tonight on speed reduction on South Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't know if you guys are considering it or talking about it. I don't really, in my opinion, I live down there and it's not really going to benefit or help.
I think we're as low as we could possibly be.
Yeah.
We're not going lower.
There's the new community coming in that you're building, the retirement community down there. There's some new businesses opening up down at the Keystone Port Industrial Complex. And with the traffic that there is now, I don't know, I haven't seen the traffic study, but in my estimate, there's at least 2,500 to 3,000 cars a day in and out of that road with the speed limit of 25 miles an hour. And trust me, I know from experience going to work long distance, if you're on 95 and you're, 2 miles from work when you just traveled 30, you're not going to do the speed limit to get to your job in 5 minutes. There needs to be serious consideration of your council to do something with the budget to get an extra officer on board for just traffic. Now, I'm just talking maybe 3 months, maybe get something on board for 3 months. The borough gets half of whatever fines are given out for the trucks, which will never stop. The trucks will always be a problem on that road because they come from all over the country. And even if it's FedEx, there's, 1,000 FedEx cars, trucks a week that go down there, whether they use Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, but the cabs that drive the trucks come from all over. So there's a lot of traffic, especially during the holiday. I think that it would be important. I'd like to meet with people that are in the council that are dealing with this situation because it is very important for this borough with the traffic situation going on down there. The safety, the noise, the mental health. The mental health is absolutely, for myself, from my own experience, I have problems. I wear headphones or earplugs in my house because I can't listen to what's going on outside of what's going on around me because it's so loud. You hear, like, if I was standing here and I was just pounding my fist the whole time I was talking to you, that's what you get with the trucks. Like, you don't know when they're coming or when they're going. And I think that an extra officer that you have guys down, Officer or Corporal Halas is a code enforcement, motor carrier enforcement guy, and he's, dedicated to do this. Now, I saw him on Sunday, and he was out working on Sunday, and I'm thinking to myself, in common sense, if he's a motor carrier enforcement, Sunday's not a day that you patrol South Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm not knocking the police for their schedule. I know that whatever goes on, but I mean, common sense measures need to be taken for that road. It is really, really, really bad. And I'm speaking for a couple hundred people in the first ward about I've talked to council members about this. I call the 215-295-8111 number 3-4 times a week, and you have to leave your name. And I don't like when an officer gets a thing, who called, Mr. Touch called, and I call 3-4 times a week. Myself and another neighbor on my road have gotten a little task force together. I'm aware of my time. There are 30 more seconds. And I will take pictures of the trucks, of the dot numbers, and he'll call the companies up on the phone and say, hey, look, your guy's down here. He's not supposed to be down here. And we even, if you talk to the chief, he mentioned it about like a business had taken a dot number from a guy because we had contacted the business and he took his business and was driving his trucks. Like, there's a lot of nefarious stuff going on there, but besides the point, there's too much going on down there and it needs to be addressed. We're limited with radar, I understand that, but for 3 months, if you had an officer down there constantly focusing on the speeding, which is insane, especially with the trucks, and focus on that, it'd be a deterrent. I know when I go to work and you focus on your route, you know you're familiar with your route, and they know if they see police down there all the time when they're going back and forth to work, they know to slow down. But these guys, they're flying all the time. So if anybody, you know, on the council that deals with the traffic specifically, I have a phone number or, you know, an email address. Get with me after the meeting and I will give it to you. And I can sit down and talk to you. I have a lot of ideas and things I'd like to talk about concerning that.
You should probably end up talking to the chief because,
no disrespect. I know my time's up. I have talked with the chief and I've talked to the sergeant and I've talked to the corporal, and it comes down to the council.
So
the council has to supply the funds to pay for the police department
Okay, I'm
to run the traffic.
Because your time is up.
Maybe Jacob can explain some of the stuff in the traffic calming stuff we're going to be doing down there. That's okay, Michael.
Okay, that's all right. But the mayor should talk because the council cannot direct the police officers, so it has to come through the mayor. So he heard you and he'll have conversations, and we also had conversations with him, so hopefully you'll see something in the future. Okay. Council discussions. I just wanted to point out the event process. Council does not initiate putting items for events on the agenda. Whoever is throwing an event needs to come in and fill out an event form. And if there's anything on there that needs to be in front of council, then they will put something on the agenda to be on council. We don't get involved if it's just a straightforward event. The borough, the office just deals with it. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I do. I know you're speaking to me because I did try to get several events up for council discussion. If there is a process for these things, it might, since we want to work together, it might be helpful to find out what those processes are that you expect for everything. That's really how a group works together. They kind of sit down, they talk about the ground rules instead of this kind of cat and mouse thing where you've got to throw an email out and, you know, maybe 5 days later somebody responds and you don't really get an answer, and it's just this kind of, it's very frustrating. I don't see any reason why, if there are groups that are planning on doing events between Summerseat, Parks and Rec Committee, people, other people, why not in January start talking about whether or not the borough would be interested in co-sponsoring?
Debbie,
one of the things,
so Summerseat.
Can I finish? One of the things I'm trying to say is that the idea that we would, that way that the organizers could then plan on whether or not they have borough support. It would not preclude the event paperwork. It would not preclude all the proper borough manager approval or anything. But what it would do is start in January or February. Why don't we just say, yeah, hey, we support community events. Let's have people, we'll go along with this if it meets our approval, but at least let signal to all these various groups that are trying to do events that we would be willing to sponsor them, given all the other part. That way it helps a whole lot. And we can then promote the as we plan, we can say to people as we're planning, maybe getting sponsors, that kind of thing, we can say, we're going to be co-sponsored by the borough. It gives everybody more cachet. It's just a simple, I think it's a simple thing for the community to know that the borough is interested in helping the community put on some events on our space that won't, you know, you can talk about money and all that stuff later. I just don't quite understand why we can't do that.
It has been the same process since I started here in 2020, where we ask that people take their event applications to the staff, all right, so they can look at the calendar, make sure it works, know the event works, because we did have a situation last year where council put something on the agenda prior to the event application, and they chose a date that was already taken by another event. We need to have order to what we're doing, or we create those situations again. So by going to the staff first, getting your event application paperwork in, choosing a date, knowing where the event is, solves that problem. We don't have the problem we had last year where council took a vote on something, the application paperwork wasn't put in. By the time it was, and I shouldn't say even by the time it was, by the time council even took the vote, that date for the event they wanted to hold, someone wanted to hold, had already been taken by another group who did submit the paperwork.
Correct. I'm just saying that we signal that we're interested in co-sponsoring, not that you're saying, bam, it's on this date, because some of these dates haven't even been chosen yet. That's all I'm talking about. Why can't we signal that we'd be willing to take on some co-sponsorship of some events, given all the dates are correct, all the things are,
That's why we need,
everything is
Debbie,
fine.
that's why we need the paperwork so that the council can see the paperwork and make a decision whether they want to sponsor that event or not.
It's just making it more
And
difficult.
it's not making it more difficult. Yes. It's not. It's simplifying it. And believe me, I had a conversation with Summerseat in the January event that we were in, and I told them the process and that they needed to fill out the paperwork. They have since come, I was asking about it, and they have since come into the borough and picked up the paperwork, but it's not been given back to the council, to the borough staff. That is the process. The staff needs it in order to keep track of everything, and the council needs it in order to decide what they want to do, whether they want to sponsor something or not. Porta potties. It was also brought up for porta potties that porta potties be included in part of the borough sponsorship. So everyone got a, and I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry about that, that everybody got what the council voted what a borough sponsorship included, and porta potties are not part of that. Porta potties are $300. So does this council want to include porta potties in borough sponsorship? Because that then becomes a very big expense, and I know I might vote no because I don't want to incur that expense on the residents of the borough. So.
May I speak to that? Can we discuss that? I just wondered if we could look into the actual cost of providing a permanent porta potty at Williamson Park for the season, you know, spring and summer season, when events are held down there and so many people are down there. I did try to do a cursory search about the cost of porta potties, and you can get very expensive porta potties, but you can kind of get a basic version. And it said, and I don't know if this is true, $100 to $300 a week, and it includes cleanup, a weekly cleanup. And I just wondered if we did that for a few months, it wouldn't be exorbitantly expensive, and we do have money in the budget. It would be really helpful for people who are down there during the spring and summer months, especially when the bathrooms down there aren't open. And then if we weren't going to give the event organizers the porta potties for free, maybe we could give them a reduced rate, because we would be able to have these porta potties at a less rate than somebody who had to get it for one event for one day. That would be my thinking about it.
Right, and with the Earth Day event, the organizer pays for the porta potty herself. Last year, it was $300 for 3 days. It's the minimum that they would do it. 2 years ago, the borough had porta potties down at Williamson Park for about $250 a month, and they left it down there for several months. And so it was a good deal. Like she said, they come by a week, every week to clean. There's probably ways. That was one of the reasons why I was asking also to put on the agenda to do a porta potty, or at least to provide see if there's some ways we can provide relief for the Earth Day event for the porta potty there, and then perhaps maybe the borough could get a better deal, and then the organizer could pay less. So the idea would be to help people.
Can I make a suggestion? I don't know, would it benefit us to just keep oh, thank you, John. But anyway, I don't know if it would benefit us to just keep the restrooms open certain times during the day, because I'm sure they have somebody that comes in and cleans them, and wouldn't that be cheaper than a porta potty?
Well, they leave at 4. So
it's okay. Like
between 4 and 9 o'clock in the summertime, there are a lot of people at that park.
Okay, so John, do you want to talk about porta potties?
Yeah, so the porta potties we had down there 2 years ago, I guess it was, they were down there. There was a borough event that was down there. We had left it. It was down there till November, beginning of November. But it's not something we always do. We haven't done it. It's the first time we've done it in a long time, a couple of years ago. They are expensive. It's not cheap. And vandalism is an issue down there at the park. The bathrooms are down there. That's another problem with our bathrooms. We leave them open, they get vandalized. Baseball is good about opening and closing them when they're down there. Short of, we had talked before about putting a bathroom down there, a public bathroom down there, but I don't think we got the grants for it or whatever. But I don't think the borough should be paying for porta potties down there. I think that's just another taxpayer expense. You know, that's my opinion. It's my own personal opinion. It's nothing, nobody's told me to say. It's just how I feel about it. So,
Do you want to broach Colvin's Ferry Park?
yeah, the park was also an issue, putting it down there. If you put it down on Delmore Avenue and leave it down there, your cars coming down there, that's a turn down there. I don't know where they want to put them. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Last year.
But again, I don't think the borough should be the same thing. I don't think the borough should be, you know, taking the porta potties down there. People are down there for 2-3 hours, you know what I'm saying, for events. I mean, I think we can say that people can, I don't want to say hold, you know what I'm saying? That's not a long time. It's not like we're having an event down there for 8-10 hours. You know, that's completely different. I could understand. But it still goes on, whoever's holding the event. You know, I mean.
Well, the Earth Day event does go on for hours and hours,
Yeah.
but that's neither here nor there. She gets it herself and she pays for it herself. I'm just wondering if the borough could possibly get one. Perhaps the borough has an opportunity to get one cheaper. Like I said, she's paid $300. And the fact is that, you know, we do have public property. People are down there during the summer months and the spring months. People have to they have to go to the bathroom. It's a matter of fact. Whether we want to pay for it or not, I think that you're going to be better off having a bathroom than not, because I think that you might find unpleasant surprises otherwise. And I think you do. I think people do find them down there.
Really,
So-
I've never come across that.
I know people have, so I'm just suggesting. And all I'm saying is that the idea of having a porta potty for these events, if you don't want to do it, I think all the time, you have to have something down there for people to go to the bathroom. It's just a fact. I mean, anything can get vandalized. Everything can get vandalized, and it does. So I'm just saying, you've got somebody down there to clean it for a week. It's an amenity that it's an essential amenity, going to the bathroom, whether we like it. And I know we don't want to, but if we did it for a long period of time, could we just look into the cost and then consider it once we look at the cost?
Debbie, why don't you make some phone calls and look into the cost and get back to the council? And council, why don't you think about what it is that you want to do about that?
If you said it was $250 a month?
That was
No.
2 years ago. That's
No.
what Jude paid.
That was a special, and someone had left.
Special.
That was somebody had left the porta potties behind, and I think that's what the borough ended up paying. But that's not what it would cost us.
Right, but I think we could find out.
Okay.
Why don't we find out?
Why don't you
can
find
get
out?
porta potties for $250 a month. I'll be the first one to vote for that.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, mayor's comments?
Oh, sorry.
We're
Madam
not
President.
finished comments yet, are we?
Go ahead.
Madam,
Just
sorry.
Scott.
Just a quick note. This could be taken as a little civics lesson. I've spent a lot of time up at the Bucks County Board of Elections, and they are some really, really good people up there, and they have everything squared away. I don't care what the current administration's doing. I don't care what the previous administration's doing. I don't care about that stuff, okay? This is local level. We need to get that kind of nonsense out of our local politics, okay? We're neighbors. Yeah, there's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's independents and libertarians, but there's neighbors. I'm not going to go on a rant. All I'm going to say is that right there is an example of how you do not treat your neighbors.
Well said, Scott. I'm going to
Madam President, can I ask you-
jump on that.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Just
Sorry.
1 sec.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm going to jump on that and also say, you know, in governing, and you could see by our agenda, there's a lot of things that we do. None of the items on our agenda have to do with Democrats and Republicans. I mean, we all appear, if you want to support your own party, that's fine, and you should do so on your free time, but you should really be the party of Morrisville. That's exactly what I am. Sean, go ahead.
I was hoping maybe you knew some. So I do an event every year for the park, so I know what like porta potty rates and stuff are rental times, and I agree. Like paying for it per event would be astronomical. I was curious because I know with mine we apply and have to do the porta potty part of it. Perhaps you can clarify. When people do events in Morrisville, is there certain requirements that require them to supply a porta potty? Like I know, like if it's a small event, it doesn't require one. I'm just curious because I haven't seen it for all conditions. Is there only certain events that would require a porta potty?
Large events, and the application states the specific number of people before you need to get a porta potty.
So it's by number, not by length of time.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate it.
I also have a comment just to let you know that what we were asking for last month was not for public comment to be moved necessarily to the beginning. It was non-agenda topics. A non-agenda comment period should be at the beginning of the meeting, and then individuals should be allowed to comment on agenda items as they arise, as you had said. So that's what we were asking. I just want to clarify that. The other thing I want to let you know that we are having Parks and Recs Committee resident committee, I think you call them, we're meeting on Tuesday, February 24th at 7 p.m. If you are interested in our parks and doing and recreation, this is be a great group. It's always well attended, and it's always been a very productive group. So we want to keep that going. And that leads me to the next thing. Are you going to discuss committees, Helen? Council committees.
I mean, council committees have always been ad hoc and at the pleasure of the council president. There's nothing in our ordinances that require them, nothing like that. I mean, it's always been council president chose the people to serve on them. Obviously, it was committees of council persons. They were done away with a few years ago, largely because no one was involved with the committees for the most part. They weren't really meeting. There wasn't a lot of work.
Accomplishing anything that the 8 of us can't do.
And yeah, so it was something that's always been ad hoc, and at this point, and it was always at the pleasure of the council president.
Okay, I'd just like to point out that I can speak for myself. I know I put in for 3 council committees. A quarterly financial committee is really an appropriate thing. It gives the opportunity for the public to come in, understand what's going on, and a policy and ordinance committee would do that. Parks and Rec should definitely be a council committee. It always was. It should go back as a council committee. If we have 3 council committee, if we can have more council members interested in these committees, would you consider restarting the council committees? We're willing to, we're willing to listen to the people. I mean, part of working together is, number one, like I said, at least having some communications, and the idea with the public. You need to working with the public. It would be nice if you would work with the public, and that's how you can do your committees. It's really important. This is about process, and it's an important thing. And that's what I'm hoping that you will consider.
I would just like to say that I did send in a request that I was interested in being on 3 borough committees. I'd really like to be on the joint school board council committee, the Parks and Rec committee, and the Policy and Ordinance Committee. And I think it is good if we have more committees for the borough, because it gives the public more chance to participate, to come to these meetings, and then the council members who are on these committees, whether it be 2 of us or 3 of us or whatever, can hear the concerns of the citizens in a more informal setting.
I have a quick question. So when you say the public, when we say the public, and there's going to be a, let's call it a committee du jour, whichever one it is that committee meeting going to solidly have a room that looks like this, or like 2 or 3 people like they always did? We started a policy and ordinance committee. Nobody came. Where are all these people in the public that want all this stuff?
Well, Scott, I can't answer that, but I do think that we should provide it for people, and you never know who may want to come and when they might want to come to these. So I think community committees are a good idea, And I
Thank you, Chief.
I would just like to say that if you decide to have them, I would really like to be on these 3. And I did send in a letter for that.
I think this also is dependent on the people who are running the committees to try and actively go out and help to encourage people to come out for these kind of things. It's a good way because sometimes, and we have the gentleman who was talking about the issues on with the truck traffic and stuff. You know, it's an opportunity because they might just have ideas that we just overthink or overcomplicate ourselves. Hopefully, again, we get some guys out there. But if people are willing to host these and willing to meet with people.
The people are willing to come out for 1 or 2 or 3 policy committee meetings to get the people involved. And after that nonsense that we saw tonight, okay, I don't think people will be banging down their door saying, I want to get involved to get treated like that.
Okay, this is what I have
one
to say.
particular instance, though.
Excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the other
sorry,
parties,
Deb Murray is talking. One thing. Each one of us have our own word. You can go door to door and ask. We're here for the people. We're not here for ourselves. You could go door to door and ask people, do you want a committee? Get a list going. See what your reaction's going to be. I could tell you right now, 3%. No matter what ward you go in. But it's up to the public. It's not up to us.
I will get you a list of people who want a Parks and Rec committee, council. How many people do you want to list of the people who are willing to do it?
The attorney, the solicitor is
Other
going
point
to
is-
speak. The solicitor is going to speak.
The point is,
The solicitor is going to speak.
We've heard a lot of things about the committees. We told you what the procedure was, what that was. There's nothing that a committee does that this group of 8 can't do themselves. I'm going to give you an example from the Policy and Ordinance Committee that was, I'll say it, a failure. It was an abject failure. How many times they were sent something over the last, I don't want to say last, but from a period of 21 to 24, and some stuff would say, what, and I would, you know, they would propose, something would be proposed at this dais among these 8 people here. And it would just be, well, we don't really know. Send it back to the solicitor. And I would spend a month trying to figure out what would be wanted, what wouldn't be wanted, eventually just coming back to this entire body. Anything that you're asking for to be done can be done amongst the 8 people right here plus the mayor. I mean, approaching council, having a forum. We had someone talk about a zoning issue tonight. Someone give a report on the library. Someone talked about the incident involving the school and the parent notification and involvement with the police. We had someone talk about thanking the MMA as well as talking about his disagreements with our rental ordinance. We had someone talking about, you know, council conduct, and we had someone talking about traffic and truck issues on South Pennsylvania Avenue. This forum is here for everything you're describing. You have what you need, in our view as a solicitor, and as your view as, and your council president's view of how committees were established or shouldn't be established. Everything you're asking for can be done in this meeting, in this setting right here.
I would have to
Always
respectfully
told us it's a
disagree.
business
It's
meeting,
3
move
minutes,
along.
but not a
Okay,
discussion.
so mayor comments?
Let them come to us.
Mayor comments?
Good evening, Morrisville. So I'd like to first start off and would like to extend my warmest wishes to all who celebrate a joyful and prosperous Chinese New Year. May the year ahead bring health, happiness, and success to every family in our Morrisville community. Mr. Julie, thank you so much for coming. Like I said in our meeting, it's because of parents like you who want to make the change. Yes, I know it was chaotic in the moment, but we came together. The chief is now working with, I'm going to talk about it in a moment, but thank you for your participation for that. I would like to take a moment to thank the dedicated members of the Morrisville's Finest, along with the leadership and staff of the Morrisville Borough School District, for their continued commitment to keeping our children safe. As many of you know, there was a recent potential threat reported at our high school. Thanks to the swift and professional response of our police department and school personnel, the situation was quickly investigated, the potential threat was identified, and we are grateful that it was determined to be nothing serious. While we are thankful for the outcome, this moment served as an important reminder of the need to remain vigilant. Our chief has already met with school leadership, and together we will continue to work towards strengthening our process and communication to ensure the highest level of safety and security for our students, staff, and families. The safety of our children will always remain one of our community's highest priorities, and we are committed to learning, improving, and moving forward together. Thank you, Morrisville, and you have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one last thing before adjournment. There was a video put out by someone, a realtor in Philadelphia, and he analyzed all the surrounding areas around Philadelphia, and he put together a top 10 list of up-and-coming towns, and Morrisville was number 1. I know. Isn't that fantastic? Right? So we do have it on the website, so if anybody wants to watch it, it is located on the borough website. And it does talk about a lot of the things that make a town succeed. For instance, I didn't get through all of the video, but town number 10 is fixing their streets and putting up new street signs. That makes a town desirable, and it makes it look pretty. So he goes through why he picked the certain towns, and like we beat out Media, Pennsylvania. We beat out Lower Makefield. We beat out Westchester. So that I think that's a really big move for Morrisville. So I hope we can continue doing what we're doing so that, you know, people will want to live here as well. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.